Indonesia, a beautiful country composed of many small islands, located between the Indian Ocean and the Pacific Ocean. It's a vibrant country filled with colorful people, cultures, and rainforests. Almost all of the 735,000 square miles Indonesia owns is covered or once was covered in rainforests. Unfortunately, today, many of those rainforests have been cut down. Why, you may ask? The palm oil industry. Indonesia has a perfect soil and growing temperature for these African palm plants, so most of the rainforests are being cut down to make room for these large plantations. Not only is it ruining the ecosystem, but it's also ruining people's lives. Many children work long days in the palm tree fields to help feed their families. This means they can't go to school, can't play with their friends, and have to take on the burden of helping to feed their families. These kids grow up doing this work just like the trees grow from seeds to trees. The production of a palm tree is a long and tedious process. It takes about 5 years before a tree produces any fruit at all. The fruit is what is then used to make the palm oil we see so often in our foods. We humans don't require palm oil in our diets. It's actually very unhealthy for humans. The only reason it's found in our food is because it can be produced cheaply, and it's all thanks to the children in Indonesia picking the fruit for little to no money every day. Okay, so first can you tell me your name and what you do for a living?
Yes, I'm Deborah Levison, and I'm a professor at the Humphrey School of Public Affairs at the University of Minnesota.
Okay, and today we're going to be talking about child labor in Indonesia and mainly around the palm oil industry. So can you just tell me what kind of work you've done previously around child labor?
Well, that would take a long time because I've been working on child labor for over 20 years. Of child labor, and that's what you're talking about in Indonesia, right? Where it's quasi-slave labor, and or slave labor really,
essentially, yeah.
And it's abusive. So that's what's called the worst forms.
Unfortunately, the worst forms of child labor are very common in Indonesia palm plantations. Children as young as 8 are forced to work on these secluded plantations. The seclusion of the plantations is a problem in and of itself. Palm oil plantations are normally set back and far away from cities or towns, making it impossible for children to have access to healthcare and education and basic needs like a grocery store or clothing store. According to UNICEF, an organization that is found in 190 countries that protects children's rights, 5% of children aged 10 to 17 work in the palm oil industry in Indonesia. This may seem like not a lot, but the USA's child labor rate in 1930 were 5%, and everyone had a farm back then. Thankfully, there are groups that they're fighting for child labor rights, such as Amnesty International, a group of 7 million people all over the world who fight for human rights. They have been fighting to get stricter laws passed in Indonesia to prohibit or limit children from working on palm oil plantations. Unfortunately, big palm oil producers that are located in Indonesia are hiding and ignoring the accusations about child labor made by groups like Amnesty International by claiming they are producing clean, sustainable palm oil. According to Megan Abraham, a senior investigator at Amnesty International, companies are turning a blind eye to exploitation of workers in their supply chain. Despite promising customers that there will be no exploitation in their palm oil supply chains, big brands continue to profit from appalling abuses. These findings will shock any consumer who thinks they are making ethical choices in the supermarket when they buy products that claim to use sustainable palm oil. So, the next time you pick up a candy wrapper and it says it has palm oil that has been produced sustainably, that doesn't automatically mean that it actually has been produced sustainably. Everyone feels bad for children in these situations, but many people don't do anything to help them. I'm challenging you to try only eating foods that don't have palm oil in them for 1 day. That's just 24 hours, 1,440 minutes, 86,400 seconds that you don't eat something processed. If that becomes too easy, try 2 days. If that's too easy, try 1 week. It may seem like you can't make a change just by not eating that Kit Kat bar. But if everyone in the US didn't eat that one Kit Kat bar on that one day, just think of what kind of change we could make in these young kids' lives.